Covering the inland Northwest with news for the 90s, this is Q6 News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Dave Thompson.
And I'm Pam Stark. 7-year-old Lance Morehouse of Old Town, Idaho remains in critical condition tonight after spending more than 20 minutes under the ice in the Spokane River in Post Falls yesterday.
A Deaconess Hospital spokesman says the young boy has two things going in his favor: his young age and the very cold temperature of the water. Carol Jansen talks with some of the many people responsible for the boy's rescue.
Quiet prevails over the Post Falls Park this cloudy Sunday. The broken ice, the only indication of the terrible accident here. 4 young boys trying to get a dog off the ice broke through, plunging into the cold water. 3 got out, but 7-year-old Lance Morehouse disappeared under the ice. Post Falls police officer Steve Keene was the first on the scene.
No, we could only go halfway out. At that point, the water was up to our chest, and the mud was basically up to our knees, and at that point, we were helpless. We couldn't go any further.
Keene returned to the park today, looking for bicycles the boys left behind.
I have located the bike. What's the idea?
Once located, he returned the bikes to the home of 2 of the boys. Several rescuers returned to the accident scene. Idaho State Trooper David Cordova is recovering from hypothermia after wading into the cold water up to his neck.
I took a long stick that was laying on the ice and reached under the ice and probed the bottom.
Any indication of a child under there at all?
No, nothing. We couldn't, I couldn't feel anything.
Is it an eerie feeling knowing that he was under there somewhere?
Knowing he was under there somewhere close by, and I couldn't get to him. The water was just too cold. And at that point, I began losing feeling in my body and knew it was time to get out.
But the broken ice hid Morehouse for 20 minutes. It took a trained diver to find the young boy. And today, that diver cannot forget.
After it happens, you're just, you're glad that you helped, but it's on your mind, like there was a drowning, and you hope that he makes it, and you're just, it's like you don't sleep last night at all, and you're still, just keep putting it through your mind, it keeps going over and over, and just come back out and look at it, try and, show someone else and see if it, I don't know if it's going to help or not, but just kind of, you want to get it out of your mind so you can, get back to sleeping at night like you didn't sleep last night at all.
After several warm, sunny days, there's a warning here. The ice just isn't as solid as it used to be. And the sight of this broken ice is drawing parents with their children.
Telling my kids about walking on ice. That's what can happen.
That way you brought them out today?
Yeah.
What are you telling them?
Well, I'm showing them exactly what can happen. It's a scary thing. Hey, it can happen to anybody. Just don't walk on ice.
Meanwhile, Officer Keene continues to find boots and clothing abandoned by 9-year-old Josh Irwin as he ran through the park calling for help. In Post Falls, I'm Carol Jansen, Q6 News.
A bad accident tonight on Trent Avenue at Butler Road in Spokane Valley killed one person and closed Trent for several hours. The driver of a semi that had just walked around his truck parked on the side of the road, checking his load, when a pickup hit the flatbed from behind. The pickup then veered across Trent and into the ditch. A passenger in the pickup was killed. The Washington State Patrol arrested the pickup's driver at the scene. The WSP says alcohol was involved. Spokane's historic Davenport Hotel is getting a new lease on life. The official announcement will be made tomorrow in a 3:30 press conference at the hotel. But Q6 News has learned that a Hong Kong investor and James Hill, a businessman formerly active in the Spokane hotel business, are expected to announce they are buying the Davenport from its current owner, the Lomas Financial Corporation. They'll reportedly operate the Davenport as a hotel. These days, the Davenport is open only for special events like last January's Mayor's Salute, the annual tribute to the city from its mayor.
Washington state lawmakers approved a new mandatory motorcycle helmet law this weekend. Governor Gardner has indicated he would sign it. 13 years ago, lawmakers repealed a mandatory helmet law that was on the books for a decade. The new law requires adult cyclists to wear state-approved helmets on public roads. It does not cover off-road cycling. An existing helmet law already requires people under 18 to wear helmets.
And lawmakers also approved a nickel a gallon hike in the state gasoline tax this weekend. Governor Booth Gardner says lawmakers took a tough tax vote to benefit the public. The first 4 cents of the gas tax hike takes effect the 1st of April. The additional penny will be added next year. Some of the $1 billion it'll raise will pay for much-needed improvements in eastern Washington.
The Maple Street Bridge payout is certainly going to be taken care of. The Division Street one-way couplet, which we could never have gotten without the tax increase, is going to be there. There's going to be improvements north on 395, some major improvements north on Highway 2, and certainly some big improvements in the valley out around the Trent intersections where the railroad tracks are. So we're looking for some big projects and some big advantages.
But Stedman says the new law does not correct one inequity in the way gas tax money collected from around Washington state is handed back to communities for road projects. He says Spokane County gets back only about 70 cents on each dollar of gas tax drivers pay. The gas tax hike is part of a $1.1 billion transportation funding package. It also raises license plate fees 10% and raises trucking weight fees 40%. It's the first hike in trucking weight fees in more than 20 years. Pam?
Striking Greyhound bus drivers and mechanics continue their picketing against the company. The action is quiet in Spokane, unlike some cities where shots have been fired and punches have been thrown. But as we see in this report, strikers are preparing for the worst.
Black bow here is for driver Waterhouse that got killed in Redding, California yesterday.
Greyhound mechanics carry their signs in front of the Spokane maintenance shop, but some don't think it's doing any good.
At least we'll all go down together. My 27 years.
One 27-year mechanic says since the last strike in '83, they've done nothing but take wage cuts and make working concessions. This time, they say they'll lose any overtime pay if they don't work a full 40 hours, if they call in sick, for instance. But worse, they say, is even with a resolution.
According to what the company says, we don't have a job.
Greyhound officials in Dallas and Spokane haven't responded to questions about the shop closing for good or if work is going to be farmed out, as these pickets believe.